Capitol Hill can seem hopelessly divided, but behind all of the hearings, finger pointing, and politics, a group of lawmakers meets, checking their party affiliation at the door for a weekly Bible study. I sat down with two senators whose voting records couldn't be more different, but who found a common bond in their faith. Senators, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation and for sharing something I think most people in the country don't know about. You may vote very differently on most things, but you found a common connection over faith.
We have, and it's not just us, but it's a lot of other members, Republican and Democrat alike, and it brings people together in a way that I think people from outside of this part of D.C. would wonder whether that's even possible or not.
Mm-hmm. Does it affect the way that you all can work together or try to find solutions?
Absolutely. I think it depends why you're here. But if you're here to serve others, to solve problems, to make a difference, then it doesn't matter who you're working with as long as you're working towards the right goal. And our faith brings us together around that shared mission of helping people, helping those most in need, helping the people who need to be lifted up.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever have a time when maybe there's a really heated issue on the floor, but then you have a breakfast or one of these Bible studies and feel like, okay, we can call a truce?
Yeah, it's the lighter side of things. It's recognizing that we may have a different point of view, but when we get together and we're talking about each other's families, we like each other up here for the most part. And it's a lot harder to be mad at somebody just because you're disagreeing with them on an issue. Sometimes that doesn't seem to translate back home because in a lot of cases folks on either side of an issue want you to be mad at the other side, but up here we get along. We actually talk to one another, we visit with one another, and we do our best not to show real anger, and it doesn't mean that we don't believe strongly in the issues, but we're still Americans first.
And I know for you, Senator, in losing your wife, you've talked about how your faith and this group of people who share your faith was a help in a really dark time.
Really. Look, it's one thing to go to work and not to have friends there that understand what you're going through. But in my case, I'm in Washington. My wife was home, and yet when the time came for me to be there with her full time, full support up here on the part of people on both sides of the aisle, and contact saying, how are things going? Is everything okay? And that's critical. And it's not just me that's gone through this. To have the support up here of people on both sides of the aisle saying, look, we get it, and whatever we can do to help, you can't fake that.
What's your hope maybe at how your example in sharing something like this would translate beyond Washington to the rest of our country?
What Mike and I do often is we realize we're both interested in the same issue. We start writing legislation together, and so we start from a place of common ground. Every time we write a law, it's a bipartisan law. So to do our job, it means we have to know and care about one another, regardless of what party we're in.
And it's amazing what you learn about one another and other people in your group, just based on the way they see it, the questions that are asked, and the way that other people respond back with their thoughts on a similar Bible passage.
And Mike and I are the Catholics in the group, so we ask similar questions, and I always understand where he's coming from. And so it's actually fun, and it's very ecumenical, non-denominational, both prayer breakfast and the Bible study. And that's fun because you do learn from people with very different backgrounds and very different faith traditions.